escaping the realm of darkness. The paranormal guys are on a quest to find the answers to the hard questions of where the normal meets the paranormal and the weird, and where the natural meets the unnatural. So grab your holy water, call your mama, and get ready for the Paranormal Guys podcast.
Woo!
We're back.
Yes.
We survived. We didn't die.
No. And we didn't come back.
It was just a while. We were gone for a little bit. We had some tours.
We did our tours in October. Sold out tours in October. They were great. We got a lot of cool evidence, more shadow people that we put up on gravesideparanormal.com. First off, I want to say hello, everybody. Happy New Year. This is being recorded on 1/21 of 24, and this episode will be coming out on 1/24/24. 24/24. Wow, Steve. You want to know what's
all based on numerology?
Numerology, gematria, maybe. I don't know. Maybe, you never know. So, Steve, it's been a cold winter, and we came off our October. How was your Christmas?
Oh, wow. That seems so long ago. That seems like a month ago. It was. It was nice. I really enjoyed Christmas. As much as people think that we only enjoy Halloween, I actually enjoy, I'm sorry, fans, I enjoy Christmas a little bit more than Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, I love Halloween, man. I mean, I love Halloween. Of course I love Halloween. But I love Christmas, man. That feeling of, meeting the people and this and that.
Eggnog.
Mistletoe. Yeah, and I deep fry some turkeys. I make stuffing. Wow. Yeah, I go all out, man. I have people over, and then I make sure that when I'm all done and tired, I sit down on the couch and then I watch a movie and I enjoy it. I got a lot of cool.
Do you have a chimney? I forgot.
Yeah, I do have a chimney.
You got a fireplace?
Yeah, actually, it's lit today in January because it's kind of cold.
Nice.
Yeah. So let me show you one of the gifts that my kids gave me.
Okay.
They're not kids anymore, but here I want all the viewers to see this: a bobblehead of Neal as Batman.
Wow.
Yeah. Look at the resemblance, man.
Say the I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
So convincing.
I'm Batman.
See?
Yes. Where is she? Where is she?
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice though. I like it.
Does that head come off and you could put it on a different body?
I don't want to attempt it.
I'm just curious. Like,
Yeah, that's I
like it would have gone a Superman body.
Yeah, it could go on anybody. My kids, they got it from China.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's made in China.
Yeah.
Very cool. I like that, Neal.
Yeah.
I don't have a bobblehead though.
Well, we're gonna have to get you a bobblehead, Steve. We should just
kind of do that a little.
We should get like the Paranormal Guys bobbleheads. But with like the skull heads.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I wonder if we could do that. If I can get that made.
We can try. We just have to make it in China.
Yeah.
Think they make Paranormal Guy bobbleheads in China?
You just send them pictures of things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have a few ideas.
Yeah, we could do that, man. That would be... I actually like that idea. I'm going to write that down after the show.
All right. Nice. I like it.
Yeah. So we're starting off the new season 3, as Steve's calling it season 3. I'm calling it year 2, but he's calling season 3. So whatever. It's another cool episode that we're going to put out. Actually, on this episode here, we have Mr. Tim Binnall from Coast to Coast AM. He's the editor and news chief for Coast to Coast AM. He's the one who puts out all those articles that you see on Coast to Coast AM, all those weird, odd sort of articles. He's the man behind the scene. He takes care of it. And he's also the host of his own podcast called Binnall of America. We had him on just so people who are listening right now, what we do is we pre-record all of our guests, and then we do the news a couple of days before we put out the broadcast. That way we're on top of the news for you. And we blend it together, Steve and myself. And we are on now all the outlets. Am I right on that, Steve?
We're on every outlet that I can think of.
Yeah. So wherever you stream, go to. And also Graveside Paranormal. That's our parent company. You can go to that on YouTube, and you can see us, see all the evidence, because that's what we do a lot. Is we put out a lot of evidence.
And for those who were you heard us kind of talking about the bobblehead, right? And you're just listening to us, it was Neal holding up the bobblehead. But if you ever want to see, if you're just so curious, you're just listening to us, you go, you know what? I want to go check out what they were doing. YouTube and Spotify.
You want to see how good looking we are.
Well,
and you know what? You will love it. I mean,
there's one of us. Oh. Neal looks good.
Damn right.
I'm a mess.
I'm going to probably get some kind of proposal. I know I'm going to get a proposal. Yes. Enough about me. So we're going to get right into the news. And I'm going to tell you something, Steve. Recently, my wife sent me this thing, and I guess it's been around for a while. It's a book that came out in 1893, so that is quite a while. But the news article that was on TikTok about, I guess it's been out a while, but I haven't seen it till recently. Mm-hmm. It's about Baron Trump. That's the son of Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
That there was a book that was written in 1893.
Oh, this story.
And I'm going to leave it for everybody. I want you to watch it on the YouTube, but I want you to listen to it. If you're not listening, you want to listen to it on the Spotify or Apple or whatever, Google, whatever you're listening to. I'm going to play this for you, and I want you to just listen to it. Now, I did research it, and this is these couple books are real books. It's almost like the Simpsons type thing.
Right. Like, it's predictive programming.
Predictive programming. Yeah, we've talked about that on one of our shows.
Or is it time travel?
Right. My wife was asking me, Neal, do you believe in time travel? I said, yeah, I believe in the concept of it. Is it going on? I don't know.
We're traveling in time right now. We're just traveling forward.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed, though, talking about time travel, and I was talking to my wife about it before we go to this article, is that the older we get, time does move faster.
It seems like it does.
Is there something that's genetically in older people that makes time move faster? I don't know.
It's called circling the drain. The closer we get to our final day, the faster we move through the drain as we circle through.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, it does make sense until we go down the drain and where we hang out with all the else, the dump.
Yep, we end up in the dump site.
The dump. Yeah. So I want everybody to listen to this, and then at the end, you guys can leave us a response if you like. If you like hearing me and Steve, and you guys want to give us some ideas or anything like that, leave us whatever you're listening to. You're streaming, it'd be Google, Apple, or Spotify, whatever. Or you can send it to Neal, Neal, at gravesideparanormal.com, or at Steve at gravesideparanormal.com. Any kind of comments or anything you guys want to see or hear that we can research for you, we'll do our best for you.
So tell us what we're doing well. Tell us what we're not doing so well.
Yeah.
Or just compliment Neal. He really likes that.
Oh,
and puts him in a great mood.
Stuff. All right, so let's go to this article. Steve, hit it up.
All right.
This is one of the wildest conspiracy theories I've ever heard before. So there's this book called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, which was written in 1893. The story is about a boy named Baron who lives in Trump Castle. And Baron became bored with his life of luxury and decided to go on an adventure. And on this adventure, he was being guided by a man named Don, who helped him find a time travel portal in Russia. Then the same author wrote a sequel 3 years later, and he titled it The Last President. The main plot of this book was about a wealthy man who lived on Fifth Avenue in New York City that decided to run for president. Then shortly after he wins the election that no one thought he could, he's inaugurated and he selects a new cabinet member by the name of Mr. Pence. Then, after his inauguration, since no one thought he would win, people erupted into violence, and people started to riot and damage property left and right. So here's where it gets really weird. Nikola Tesla, who had claimed to have figured out time travel, had about 80 trunks worth of his life's work. When he died in 1943, the man responsible for collecting all of his work was an MIT professor by the name of John G. Trump, Donald Trump's uncle. And get this, after John Trump died, there's rumors that Donald Trump inherited Tesla's work. So the theory is Donald Trump used a time machine to travel into the future where he saw Hillary Clinton win the presidency, which then led the U.S. into a complete collapse. So he traveled back in time, decided to run for president to try to save the country. All right, no more internet today.
This is crazy. Now, I want to take you back for the...
No, I want the sports almanac that he got also.
know, right? We'd all be sitting pretty right now. Maybe that's what he did too. Maybe he watched Back to the Future. He said, it says I got Tesla's thing.
Yeah.
Take a script. I'm going to take the script from Back to the Future and I'm going to utilize it. And I'm going to go make a bunch of bets. That's how he became a billionaire. He didn't do it off real estate.
But he probably went back in time and he was calling somebody McFly at the same time. It's like Biff going back.
It's like Biff. So what's odd about this whole thing is that when you look at that book that they started in the beginning, that shows a very likable resemblance to Barron Trump, which is weird, man.
Barron's a handsome man.
Dude, that's a good-looking kid, man. Do you see?
He's like 6'9".
Oh my God, that kid's big. He's only like 17, 18 years old.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, he's a good-looking kid.
Good-looking kid, yeah.
And we'll see what happens. He's probably going to be the tallest president we've ever had.
Maybe one day.
I'm just kidding. I think, who knows? I don't know.
My wife also said, Neal, think about this.
He's like Abraham Lincoln tall.
She said that he also has a sort of a resemblance to JFK Jr.
Oh.
I said, really? I go, so I looked at it, I said, yeah, I could see that. I go, but you can see Donald Trump's face in there. But enough about Donald Trump is but that book, that's, we talk about the Simpsons and stuff and predictive programming and time machines and holy smoke, man. Mm-hmm. What if? I don't know.
I don't have a bobblehead, but I got this guy. Have you ever seen this?
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them at cons and stuff like that. Yeah.
Someone gave me this for Christmas one year. It's what for the folks who are hearing us, I'm holding up I have a little Donald Trump figurine, but I got a figurine for a lot of things. So don't be thinking like I'm QAnon or anything like that. But he has a little button and you press it and then he says something. So this is what he's saying.
I love the First Amendment. Nobody loves it better than me. Nobody.
And once again, this is not a political show.
It's not a political show. I just happen to have him sitting next to me, and we were talking about Barron. And he's a time traveler, so
Donald Trump, the time traveler now. He's a time traveler now.
He's part of the thing. But I think that, I have to get some more figurines. I want to get like a George Soros one so that I could be like, you'll use the dark side.
Dude, isn't that weird how he looks like Emperor Palpatine?
Absolutely.
So weird.
Absolutely. Kind of scary, so but
what news do you have though today?
Yeah, I've got some cool news. I also want to tell a little story outside of the news, but I'll wait for my second story. The first one I have, Neal, I've got something that let's see. It is right up your alley.
I hope it is.
Parasitic worms that manipulate the host into drowning by stealing its genetic code.
What?
Yes. So this little sucker, and we have it up on the screen, folks. If you want to see what we're looking at, it's an article from Oddity Central, published January 19th in the category of animals. And this is about a parasitic worm that once it is hatched from its egg, it's a little larva, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what its first mission is to get swallowed by a mosquito or a tadpole, where it will then kind of hide out for a while, and then it waits to get eaten by a bigger animal, like a mantis. And then when it gets eaten by a mantis, it awakens inside, and it starts to steal nutrients from the mantis, and it'll also start horizontally editing the genetic code of the mantis and pumping dopamine into the mantis's brain. And it leads the mantis into water where it will drown. And the reason it does that is because in order to reproduce, the hairworm, that's the insect we're looking at right now, also known as...
It's on the back end of the mantis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's known as a Chorotis fukui. Fukui.
Fukui?
Fukui.
Okay.
Chorotis. I'm not pronouncing it correctly. But maybe there's a scientist out there who can pronounce it for us one day.
Scientists have known about this worm's mind snatcher trick. So let's just call it the mind snatcher.
Yeah, it's a mind snatcher. And can you imagine, like, something like this could happen? It can be in your body, and it can be like editing your genetic code, taking snippets of DNA and start sending messages. Go drown yourself.
Go drown yourself.
Go eat a sandwich at night. A beer.
A beer.
You know? Can you imagine? We probably have parasites in us.
Oh, we all have parasites in us. Yeah, that's.
Do you think some of them might be
influencing us?
Influencing us? Mind snatching parasites. I thought it was really interesting. Nothing can be done about this. So the little hairworms, the mantis dies and they climb out of the body and then they swim to the other hairworms. There's like a little party going on somewhere in a pond.
I get like a parasite that's in me. Neal, go for a jog. Neal, go for a run. No, hell no. Neal, eat a carrot and some celery. What? Snickers.
That'd be good for you, though. That'd be good for you. But that's just, it does all that just to mate.
Wow, that's crazy, dude.
It just goes.
I wonder if there ever was a case though of that type of thing in a human being. That'd be weird.
You know,
we should think ideas.
It has to be eaten by something, and then it has to be eaten again.
Well, it looks like something that you would find like in a Chinese restaurant or something like one of the noodles. You know, someone throws one of those noodles alive inside there, and then just you all of a sudden eat it. Oh, dear Lord!
Yeah,
you know, you just slurp it right up, and it goes right into your body.
A noodle that eats your noodle.
Right, a noodle that'll eat your noodle.
Yeah.
Wow,
nice.
that is scary stuff. I'll tell you that scary stuff. Yeah. So I have some news.
Okay.
My second one. Now this is really, really weird. Just so people who know me by now, I like football. Okay, and I'm a Chicago Bears fan. Okay, I like football. I like watching football, but my team is Chicago Bears because I grew up in Chicago. But there's been this thing that people, you know, like you're on DraftKings or any of these other things that you bet on or this and that, which a lot of people do, which I've done. You know, you go on there and you bet on certain sports games, and I bet on football. And is the NFL scripted? A lot of people have always said that, yeah, it is, and this and that, and you know when the fix is in, because you start to wonder, how are these numbers so perfect a lot of times, right? Mm-hmm. So the other day, actually it was yesterday, it was Saturday's game. It was the Ravens were playing, and also the 49ers were playing yesterday, okay? And the Ravens are in the AFC, and San Francisco 49ers is in the NFC. And what we're going to show you right now is, now it's only the playoffs. So we're not in the Super Bowl. We're about 2 games away from the Super Bowl. So that means that it hasn't been played yet, but something popped up on the TV predicting something. So I want you to go ahead and play this real quick, Steve.
Man, the NFL just got caught slipping. The NFL is slipping, all right? My buddy just sent this to me. He lives in the Memphis area. This is a local news station, okay? Reba McEntire, Usher, Post Malone are slated to perform at the Super Bowl. But look what it says. At San Francisco 49ers and Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl matchup on February 11th. Do we look dumb to you? I mean, honestly. And by the way, shout out to my boy Dantry. He just released a song called 90s Bills as well. It's on Spotify. It's pretty sick. But NFL. We started off by seeing the purple and the red, right? And that theory has just been circulating around social media from the beginning of the season. And then you throw that in our face. You have local news stations already saying the 49ers and Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl going into it. Man, I'll tell you what, if this Super Bowl does happen, we got to start questioning some things right now, ladies and gents. We got to start questioning some things, sincerely.
Yeah. Yeah, you really do have to start questioning because for people who don't follow football, let me try to explain. Is that those two teams that he's talking about played Saturday, which was the 20th, 1/20/24. And both of those teams won. Today on Sunday, as me and Steve are doing this broadcast right now, the Detroit Lions won, which are in the NFC. They're going to be meeting the San Francisco 49ers versus Detroit Lions next week for the NFC Championship. If all of a sudden something like this happens, you have to really, really question things. Is this script? Is it like the WWE or the AEW or whatever other wrestling organizations?
I'm telling you, Trump has the sports almanac, man.
Trump's got the sports almanac.
That's what's going on. He's like Biff. It's like Back to the Future, but Biff got it. You know?
But Trump's got it.
Yeah, and then he became like president with it.
Yeah, well, you never know.
That's cool.
I mean, people have to start really wondering because if this turns out the way
you said it's in Vegas this year.
Yeah, in Vegas this year.
Yeah. See, there you go.
And like he was talking about the colors, and I was looking at the colors of the other Super Bowls before they happened. They put out like on this video here. All right, so the Ravens is purple, and 49ers is red. So it's a blend of those two colors. Are they already putting it out there? Hey, this is what's going to be happening. If it is, man, at the end of this season, I'm going to wait and see when they put out the next coloring for something. And I'm going to do who's going to be in the Super Bowl next year.
It's like that, like the Truman Show, like all of reality. It's it's all orchestrated.
Man, you know what? Then we really got to start really questioning things. We really, really do. And someone owes me some money. I'll tell you that. Somebody owes me a lot.
You got it all wrong. We got to find that almanac.
Well, we'll go find Mr. Trump, and we'll ask him. Please give us the next one, please. Come on, you got enough money, dude. You know. So, what do you got for us next, Steve?
Just a little shout out to someone who I know is going through a hard time right now, and she has some really great work. And I know that people who watch our stuff and they're kind of into the paranormal, if they don't already know about Extreme Reality Check, they need to know about her. She's got some great content. I'll throw something up on the screen here. It's this is her Rumble page. She's no longer on YouTube because, YouTube doesn't like certain things on YouTube. So you can find her on Rumble. She's got some really cool things out here, like about nanotechnology, shadow people, just kind of your run-of-the-mill, paranormal, black magic, jade helm, conspiracy stuff. Very cool thing. So if you're interested in something, these are really long videos, by the way. Jan is her name. She puts out these really long videos. Maybe sometimes they're like 7 hours, 4 hours. But they're so interesting, and you're just glued to it for hours. And the time flies so fast. And in the end, you're like, oh my goodness.
No, I did. Actually, Steve turned me on to this lady's show. Mm-hmm. And I'm honest, I only listened to one episode because at the time I was kind of busy doing something.
Right.
And it made you think.
Mm-hmm.
The things that she was saying, I was like, wow. She's really researched her stuff. Mm-hmm. Either she's a very good storyteller.
That too.
But
very thorough.
The lady is very thorough. So I guess this lady has fallen on hard times, but she tries to get out to some very good information. So people in the field that we do, trying to get you guys to listen to certain things, give you some information, give you entertainment. Every now and then, if you can, please help out people. I'm not asking for any personal help, but if this lady, give her name again.
So, Extreme Reality Check. She has some great content. She used to be on YouTube, had like 20 million subscribers, lost that, and is now on Rumble. Now, I'm guilty of this. I've watched her content a lot, and I never really paid anything because I pay YouTube, right? So I don't get the commercials. And then once she started going on Rumble and doing her own thing, I'd listen to this stuff, and I would forget to support, the local creator, right? She's in Illinois, central Illinois, somewhere, southern Illinois. And she does this amazing work, so thoroughly researched. Okay. And, worth a lot of, its weight in gold. Okay. It's, she deserves a little something back from the community. So if you do, want to hear some really cool content, check out her page. If you like it, you can always support her. There's a Give Send Go, givesendgo.com/extreme reality check. But check out her work. If it's something you like, if it's something you want to see more of, support her in some way.
All right.
Even if it's a prayer or a nice comment on her channel. It means
a lot to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right. Well, we get that out there for them, and maybe we'll put that up as like a post maybe this week for you, Steve. Or you can put up a post on gravesideparanormal.com. Put it up one day this week, something to send out to the lady, hashtag her in it, and so that she knows that she's recognized. Okay, maybe
right.
We can do that for her. With that being said, I want to thank everybody for coming out for season 3, as Steve calls it. I call it year 2. We want to thank you very much. And next, we have Mr. Tim Binnall from Coast to Coast AM News, as well as Binnall of America. This conversation is some really cool conversation. Really cool dude, very down to earth. And it's all about different kinds of news, because that's what he does. It's kind of like strange, weird news. So that's what we do too sometimes. Mm-hmm. So
it's a great interview.
I'm glad we're back. Thank you for listening. Steve, you have anything to say to anybody?
Just boo.
And as always, boys and girls, boo.
Hey everybody, this is Steve with the Paranormal Guys podcast, and with me, my buddy, my pal, my host, Mr. Neal Gibbons. Neal, say hello.
Oh, hello everybody.
Neal, we got something really cool to share with everybody, because now we're all grown up. We are on every podcast channel they can think of. That's right, the Paranormal Guys. Tell them about it, Neal.
So we're streaming on every outlet that you stream to hear your favorite podcasts, especially the Paranormal Guys podcast. And also, boys and girls, you can check us out on YouTube and put it under our parent company, Graveside Paranormal, so you can see the sexiness of me and Steve.
Wear your sunglasses. We don't want you to go blind.
Damn right. And as always, boys and girls, tune in and boo.
And now, back to the Paranormal Guys podcast.
All right, we're back. Steve.
Yes.
Last October in 2023, we had a great tour. And one of the things that we had on our tour is Mr. Tim Binnall was able to take some of our pictures from the tours that we had up from Lorraine, our girl Lorraine.
Our shadow people pictures.
Shadow picture.
At Archer Avenue Cemetery.
Right, on Archer Avenue over in Archerwood Cemetery. And Tim came across it, Mr. Tim Binnall, and he put it up on Coast to Coast AM, which is, oh my God, it's like
Coast to Coast rocks.
Thing, man, right? Now,
we get a lot of our weekly weird news from Coast to Coast, sometimes Oddity Central, but Coast to Coast has some really great stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was like Christmas came early. We got to see something from Graveside Paranormal up there. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was nice. It was really, really nice. So I reached out to Mr. Tim Binnall, and I asked him if he could come on to our the Paranormal Guys podcast, and he accepted. Really cool of him to do that. So I'm going to bring him in a minute. First, let me introduce him. Tim Binnall, news editor for Coast to Coast AM, host of his podcast, Binnall of America. Mr. Tim Binnall, welcome to the Paranormal Guys podcast.
How you doing, Neal and Steve? Thanks for having me on. Much appreciated. Looking forward to chatting with you guys tonight.
Yep. Look forward to talking to you, dude. Looking forward to talking to you. So, Tim, tell us how. I always ask every single guest, especially when I get to know them. I'm getting to know you. Mm-hmm. How did you get into the paranormal, supernatural, or maybe the aliens? What came first? Did something in your life come first that got you such an interest?
Well, I have sort of an origin story that I share every time I appear on a show or do a presentation. So I'll give you that well-worn tale. I always had an interest in this as a kid, and then I went off to Syracuse, where I went to college and studied TV and film and all that good stuff. And then I got out of college, and 9/11 had just happened, and my dad was like, he was tough. Let's just put it that way, right? So my late father, God rest his soul. So he handed me a sheet of paper because Syracuse ain't cheap, folks. And he said, "Here's how much you owe." And then he handed me the want ads. He said, "Now go get a job and pay them back." So I wound up becoming an overnight janitor at the high school I went to, actually. And it was through that, after a couple of years, I had, for some reason, I kind of got interested in conspiracies and secret societies and stuff like that. So I picked up Jim Marrs' Rule by Secrecy in October of 2003. So 20 plus years now. And I read it cover to cover. I thought it was like the most intense, insanely fascinating book I'd ever read. So then I picked up Alien Agenda, because I always, when I was younger, I had an interest primarily thanks to like unsolved mysteries in UFOs and Bigfoot. Those are like my two main passion subjects. Right. Since then, I've delved into everything under the sun pretty much. So I was kind of talking about this with a friend of mine, and he was like, "Well, you work the overnights, you should be listening to Art Bell." And I'm like, "What is Art Bell?" So that's when, actually, it was in October 2002, because George Norrie came on in January 2003. So I just started listening around late 2002 to Coast. Then I really kind of just got like a master's degree in weird and just listened every night for years and years and years while I was working the overnight shift. Some point in the overnight shift, I was like, I'd really like to call in with a question, but I'm working. I can't really do that. And I'm like, at the time, I was a subscriber to a pro wrestling website that offered these audio updates with like news. Now, remember, this is like late 2002. So there wasn't anything as a podcast. These were just audio updates, MP3 audio updates, they were called. So it was like, why don't I interview one of these guests from coast to coast? Then I can ask them the questions that I have. Without the pressure of like being on national radio, right? And having to wait on hold and and being at work and all the things were preventing me from calling in the show. I'm like, why don't I just interview them myself? That could be kind of fun. And I'll record these interviews, and then I'll put them on the internet as MP3s that people can download. So this led to the creation of Binnall of America Audio, which is the podcast, essentially. That's why there's no cast in the name, or it's just completely oddball sort of name, because I had a website called Binnall of America, so now this was the audio portion of the website. I never envisioned that podcasts would ever become a thing. So then we just started rolling along, started doing a show in April of 2005, and continued onward with a sort of a semi-hiatus a few years back, but we're back better than ever since this past October. And I think we've put out like 400 plus episodes, maybe close to maybe 500 over the last 18 years, and interviewed everybody under the sun I could get my hands on. Jim Marrs, Stan Friedman, and I became really good friends over the years. I think I interviewed Stan 15 times maybe over the course of all the time I've been podcasting. Lauren Coleman, that was kind of my big thing. I was just really wanted to like get to know some of these legends and find out who they are, and really kind of get, if you're gonna learn, you want to learn from the best, right? So it's like, get me Brad Steiger. I want to talk to Jacques Vallée. I want to talk to these people who are the cream of the crop. So that's pretty much what Binnall of America is and was, and I try to continue that to this day. And then somewhere along the way, Coast to Coast was looking for a webmaster fill-in guy, so I jumped on board with them in 2007. And then around 2015, November, they were like, "Hey, we want to expand to do news, like in the daytime, and we want you to come on board," because they knew I was a writer. So I was like, "Let's do it." So they brought me in as the news editor for Coast to Coast, where I write the articles for Coast to Coast, and it's been that way ever since. So when I came on to write for Coast, then I was kind of like, I got to take a break from the podcasting. So that I kind of sort of like let it die out a little bit. Then this past summer, a lot of my friends were like, you got to come back, man. You got to. I would come back every now and again, do 2 or 3 shows, and then and they were like, you got to come back for good. So then we launched Binnall of America, the revival, this past October, and we've been churning along ever since with new episodes every Wednesday.
Yeah, I started catching up on your shows. I just started listening to them. I'm enjoying them.
Same.
So I just this is the revival one that I've been listening to. I haven't listened to any of your past ones, to be really honest. But I
wouldn't blame you.
Yeah. So, but one of the other things is, did anything ever paranormal, supernatural ever happen with you?
Not particularly tremendously paranormal. Let's put it that way. I have one sort of what I would call like, and it's a pretty funny story. I kind of embarrassed when I tell it because it's silly, but it's like, it's a true story. So I my father, as I said, he passed away in May of 2007. January of 2008, my birthday, I had gotten some scratch tickets. Now, my father was a lot like me. He's a jokester. He was really into the absurd and, pranks and that kind of thing. So he had this machine. It was called like the fart machine. And it was this little box that was like this. And it had a remote. And you would put it like, Steve would put it under your seat, Neal. And then Steve would go across the room and he'd hit the button and be like, Neal, what are you doing over there? That kind of thing. My dad thought that was like the most hilarious thing ever. So after he passed away, we put it on a shelf, not in this room, but like a shelf like this behind me, just sitting away, not ever used. The remote on top, sat there for 7-8 months after he passed away. On my birthday, I had gotten some scratch tickets. And just so you don't get excited, I didn't win anything on the scratch tickets, but I said, all right, Dad, give me a winner here. And right after I said that, the fart machine unleashed a toot, just a fart, just bellowed out of the fart machine. It was the one and only time it ever did that. It wasn't something that would happen all the time. It wasn't something that happened after that, or it was just one time only that it ever happened. When moments after I said, all right, Dad, give me a winner here. So in a sense, I got a winner. I got some kind of weird confirmation of something. I don't know, but it was like, okay, that was paranormal, man. I can't explain that. Like I said, if it happened all the time, or it was so weird, oh, it's probably broken or a glitch or that, but this was the only time it ever happened. I don't even know where the thing is now.
So the big question was, though, was there a scent or anything like that?
No, nothing like that.
No.
It was a vaporous.
It's like so it's not really a phantom fart, but
a phantom fart sound.
Fart from beyond.
There you go.
Yeah. The fart from beyond. Yeah, that'll be a nice little short story.
That's a nice story. I mean, yeah, it's a fart, and but if you have a sense of humor, it is a super nice story. Like that. That's something my dad would do.
Right.
That's
somebody. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was just like, that's the weirdest thing that ever. I was just like, that's super weird, And I was paranormal, but I didn't really. It was way so personal. I just didn't really. I was just blown away by it,
Yeah.
No pun intended, right?
Well, I listened to Art Bell, but back in 1994, right? Mm-hmm. I worked for the sheriff's department for 30 years. I just retired like about 3 weeks ago.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
And thank you. And the thing is that we would listen to Art Bell, and I just put a thing up on our Graveside Paranormal Facebook page about Mel's Hole. I love that story. Mel, even though if it's real or not real, it's also for people to decide for themselves, of course. No matter what, that was such an entertaining story. And the Coast to Coast AM, I've been listening to that since I started with the Sheriff's Department in 94. And we used to listen to it from 12 o'clock at night all the way to 4 o'clock in the morning. It'd be like, because they used to be on like 6 days a week. And I would listen to it on all week long. It's what kept you entertained. Art Bell just had a style to him, man. It was just so nice back in that day. And I tell people, go back to his vault and stuff like that and check out the things that he did on Coast to Coast AM. A lot of us who came into the paranormal field or supernatural is a lot of thanks to Coast to Coast AM and Art Bell. George Norrie as well, but for me, it was the Art Bell era, of course.
Yeah. And back then, I mean, it's funny. Like here, I have a podcast. I'm on your podcast. It's like but I'm gonna sound oxymoronic or something. But it was like back then they didn't have all those podcasts, so it was like that was the place to get your information from.
Right, exactly. You know, you can go buy a book, but if you listen to them on I would listen to on 890 WLS. And that's how I would catch it every single night because they would distribute it to all these radio stations. You know, there was no podcast. There was no.
Back in the day, there was a backyard fire pit, some beers going around, and guys telling stories.
Right.
And that's how I actually I did not know about Art Bell because I didn't listen to the radio until somebody told me about Roswell. They were like, "Hey, you hear about Roswell and the shape-shifting metal and the alien autopsy." I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, you don't know?
Oh, don't know?
So back in the day, you would select some friends, and if they were into the paranormal, their weird stories, you learned about weird stories and go on and listen to Art Bell and hear more stuff. And now we got podcasts. So now we can all have this little campfire type of conversation across our little platforms. What are you most interested in, Tim? Like, I know there's a lot of UFO stuff. I've been listening to some of your podcasts, and then Neal brings up Mel's Hole, and but there's like ghosts, there's cryptids, there's
there's all kinds of stuff. Well, it's interesting. I've had quite the evolution. I mean, I got into it interested in UFOs. That was kind of my pride. Like I said, Bigfoot and UFOs are still always kind of my biggest two interests. But then I, like most people who get mixed up with UFOs, I got pretty disillusioned over the years. And to the point that I'm not even that particularly excited about what's happening now, because it's like, we've kind of seen all this before, even though it's sort of a new, flashier version of what we've seen before. It's pretty much what we've seen before. So I have a saying on my show, like, show me the alien, man. Just show me. I've seen enough. All we hear is the same kind of stories all the time, where it's, I was told this, and I heard the government has that. It's always, even if it's a guy from the government, it's like, well, I heard someone else, like this Grush character. He's like, oh, I was told that the government has this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, yeah, so we heard people say that of similar ilk years ago. You know, your Bob Lazars and your other characters. Like,
you know, just like that thing recently over the summertime, the Congress thing, they had those guys from the Navy out there. I'm sorry, but this is nothing new.
Right.
You know what, like you said, you know what? We've talked enough. We've been talking about this since the 1950s. Show me something, damn it.
No, it's going to disappear. They're just going to stop talking about it. Like they always do.
So, you know, I had an interest in that, but as the show went along, I kind of got disillusioned with UFOs and just branched out into all the different topics. I kind of wanted, and do still want, Binnall of America to be sort of this almost encyclopedic type show where you can find a show if you dig into our archive. We have a spontaneous human combustion show. We have a Amelia Earhart show. So for a while there, I kind of got into the vintage type topics, Bermuda Triangle and Elvis death hoax and weird stuff like that. And then I kind of, as I was always still covering the big topics, you know, my interests kind of just keep expanding into the weirder and weirder niches and stuff like that. So, you know, got for a while there, I was really not into like a believer, but I was really into studying the flat Earth people and trying to understand who these people were and how they got into
the way they do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was like deeply embedded in the flat Earth community for like 6 months, just kind of like befriending them, following their shit, following their stuff. I don't know following their stuff and kind of just trying to understand how they got mixed up in all this. Even went to a flat Earth convention to hang out with them for the weekend.
What's that like?
Do they look like what you think they would?
What's that?
And do they look like what you would think they would?
Oh, they're shockingly normal, and they're actually quite sweet. And I felt kind of more, you go there with the thought that you're gonna like laugh at them, but then after you get there and you kind of talking to them, they turn out to be like just really normal people, and then you kind of feel bad, and then they drop some flat Earth stuff on you, and you're like, oh wait, yeah, you're a flat earther, and it's like I can't. It's like weird. Your mind breaks a little bit. You're like, well, wait a minute, you and I are here watching the football at the bar, and we're having a normal conversation, and then somehow you bring it back around to how the Earth is flat. This is so weird. So they're an interesting people. I for the most part, I like them. I think they're just kind of obviously misguided in their beliefs. But that's kind of so. I don't really have a specific. I sort of have a topic du jour, or whatever really interests me right now. You know what I mean?
Right. No.
Right.
I get into true crime for a while, and then I bounce back into this, and then somebody will write a book about an interesting take on Bigfoot, and I'll be like, oh, what's that? Let me get into that. So
right.
I just have this varied. A lot of it also is from the coast to coast job, where it's just like I have to stay on everything. I want to stay on everything. It's not that I have to. I want to. I want a coast to coast to be the clearinghouse for. If something happens with Amelia Earhart, you're going to find out about it at Coast to Coast. If something involving the Dyatlov Pass case breaks, you'll hear about it at Coast to Coast, because every day I'm going through the lists, this massive list of topics, and trying to dig up any news I can about any of these different things. Loch Ness, Ogopogo, all the different sea monsters, all the different incarnations of Bigfoot. So I think that's kind of, I think maybe if I had an interest right now, it would just be sort of expanding this this worldview of mine, this paranormal worldview, to get into as much stuff as I can, as much weird stuff as I can. What really interests me is something I haven't heard before. That's probably
right.
My curious thing about you is, and I don't know if I'm getting too personal or anything like that, how does your day start off in looking for, I mean, because it's such widespread subjects.
Right.
It's everything from supernatural, aliens, paranormal, Bigfoot, cryptids, da-da-da. How does your day start off and you start looking for these things?
Well, I start out with, I have sort of a big list. You mentioned Oddity Central. They're on my list. They're a great website for weird news. I tip my cap to them. I've gotten plenty of stories from them. So I have a very large list of sort of primary sources of places like Oddity Central, or the British tabloids are great for, they find a lot of stuff, obscure stuff from other outside of Britain and America. Like they find a lot of odd stuff in South America and Asia that I don't know how they do it, because I'm like, how did they find it?
That's my question, is how do you find these things?
Yeah, so I'm impressed with it, but I kind of picked up their tricks a little bit. I don't want to give away all this stuff, but I picked up
I don't want
I know, I'm just giving you grief. But so once I exhaust my main list, then I kind of have a pretty good idea if I have something for the day, essentially. And then regardless, then I go through different web searches of different words and sort of just go through this and search the news areas of these different, your Googles, your Bings, all the places that search news. Then I search through them, looking for all these different buzzwords, all these different search topics: ghost, UFO, UAP, alien, extraterrestrial. Like that's just, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, Yowie. Like that's, that's just the tip of the iceberg, man. Like that is like, and I don't even have the list written down. It's all just up in my head. I'm like, all right, Psychic, Treasure, Dyatlov Pass, Amelia Earhart, D.B. Cooper. Let's just see what, and I just kind of just throw the net out and pull it back in, throw the net out, pull it back in, keep fishing the internet for these different topics. And, then usually I have 3 or 4 that I like, and then I get started pretty much in writing them. And maybe as the day will go on, I'll kind of look at them and I'll have 1 or 2 written, and I'll be like, oh, that one's junk. I don't want that anymore. I was, then it might show up the next day or whatever. But
right. After
that's how it's it's a never-ending search for news. It's kind of, it drives me a little batty sometimes. I won't lie. If you're sitting there and
one thing I noticed about paranormal,
it gets frustrating
with paranormal. the subject of paranormal, people who are into paranormal, there seems to be like a like moth to the flame to conspiracy as well. So UFOs, and then there's a whole conspiracy theory around that, and it's just like they're linked together. One of the things I do is I look out for conspiracy theories. I look at conspiracy sites and stuff like that, and then I come across some paranormal stuff that I wouldn't have found. I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. They go hand in hand. Do you see that often? Like, is there a conspiracy component to the things that you're seeing?
Slightly, but I think in this modern era, conspiracy has broken away from the paranormal in a way.
It's become a little bit different. Yeah.
It's I was talking about this. I don't know when this episode will air, but I was talking about it on a recent episode, let's say with Michael Hughes, who's going to be on Binnall of America, or has been by now. And it was like the modern era that we're in, conspiracy theory is hampered by the contemporaneous nature of this world we're living in. Mm-hmm. So like back in the day with the JFK thing, you were reading about stuff that happened years ago, and people were kind of digging up stuff like that. And it's all kind of began, I guess you could say, with like 9/11, where it was that happened. There became this contemporary. It's like you can't really gain perspective on a conspiracy theory until you have a little bit of time pass. Mm-hmm. So I think, and then now with this modern conspiracy theory, is like it's just way too dark for my taste. Really,
it is. It does.
Even the COVID stuff. Oh, geez, just all that.
But you take flat earther
flag stuff. It's all just very, very dark. That's why I like flat Earth. Give me a good moon hoax conspiracy. Like I don't believe in the moon hoax, but at least that's no one's getting hurt.
It's lighter, yeah. And like the simulation idea, right? Like the whole reality is a simulation, and those are cool conspiracies. Well, I don't know if they're conspiracies. I guess it is. But then you get into flat earther, right? And you can kind of like combine things together. You can go, it is a flat earth, and it's because we're in a simulation. And
there you go, yeah.
The screen's flat.
Exactly.
But it's interesting. I do notice that a lot of people who are into the paranormal get off on the conspiracy stuff, and some of them do go dark, like you say. And that's like the conversation. You have a really nice conversation at a bar, I'd rather be sitting with a flat earther having a conversation than it go off into a dark.
Right. Yeah. Like rather than get into like QAnon or something that's just like,
right.
I don't want to hear about any of this stuff. Just don't want to like, I don't have any interest in it.
No.
It's too dark, dude.
Yeah,
way too dark. I don't believe a word of it.
My buzz, man. Come on.
What's that?
I was saying you're in the bar, you're saying messing up my buzz, man. Come on.
Yeah,
I know.
Like, dude, they're gonna throw us out, man. They want to hear about the flat Earth. The guy next to you be like, "What? Flat Earth?" But you say QAnon, they're gonna be like, "Check, please."
Check, please.
Yeah. No, but like cute ladies on airplanes who see lizard people, like that's fun.
So that actually takes us into So we're going to talk about now, Tim. We're going to talk about some news articles, and I want to get your opinion on it because that's your job. And and we're going to ask Tiffany Gomez, the woman who went viral about a shape-shifting person on the airline. We actually have a video up of.
Speaking of shape-shifting, though, I remember the picture of her on the plane, and then we started seeing her on the news, right? So that's her on the plane, and then I guess that's her from a news interview. Is that the same person? I guess they look different.
Yeah, the hair looks kind of similar enough.
I mean, plus
what big eyes you have. I did not know that she had
what big eyes you have.
Big eyes.
Yes.
Sorry.
So just so that everybody knows, all our viewers and listeners, for the things that we're talking about, because this is year 2, season 1, go to YouTube if you want to see some of the pictures and videos that we do post up on here. It's also on Spotify as well, because Spotify just started utilizing video as well. Really? So make sure that you go there as well as all the other outlets that we're on.
What we were putting up on the screen for those who are listening is, everybody's seen the viral video of her pointing to the guy in the back. She's wearing a tank top. And then there's another video or another picture of her talking to a news outlet. And if you do come across these images, she doesn't look quite the same to me. I mean, Neal brought up a good point. She's maybe wearing makeup and she got prettier.
In the first picture, she didn't know she was going to be famous, and in the second picture, she knew she was famous. So that's
right.
Transformation. She's like, "Oh wow, I'm going to be interviewed on TV. I better
dress up."
Now, what we're going to show you is you've probably seen this video of her. It was on TMZ. So I'm going to show the video first, and I'm going to ask the question to you. Stephen, can we pull up that video, please?
Sure. I'll make sure I got the right one. The one from TMZ.
Correct.
Okay.
Listen, I mean, I got to ask you, how does it feel to be traveling again?
Great.
You know, in the airport again after what you went through?
A little bit of anxiety, but it's been good.
A lot of people are curious what exactly you saw. Because you know, you alluded to what you saw, but like, we just want to know, like, you know, what did you see?
I mean, thanks for asking that, but I have been told I cannot comment on it right now.
I see.
I'm sorry.
What was the reason that you wanted to get off so bad?
Again, can't speak on that right now, but I was distressed and I was getting off the plane no matter what. I just probably didn't need to make the scene that I made.
Right.
But I was getting off that plane, for sure.
So this video here, her facial expressions on that, I'm used to people's facial expressions and stuff like that from what I did for a living. You could see that there's some hesitation, like she's being told something. And understand, I'm not getting into the rabbit hole conspiracy theory on something, okay? I'm not saying that.
I have a pretty good theory on this, but
well, that's why I came up with this thing. What do you think is the whole story about? And do you think there's actually a story to it?
I don't think there's really much of a story to it. I think that her response just then, and Neal, you said you worked in law enforcement. Maybe you'll recognize this. That was the response of someone who has consulted an attorney.
Yes. Right. Exactly. We talked about it before we even went online with you. I said a lawyer is telling her that.
Right. So that was her doing her very best to make sure she does not probably get charged with anything. Because I'm sure they could charge her way after the incident. Like, it's only been like 6 months. Like, they could charge her now for it, probably. So she's probably like, the guy's probably like, keep your mouth shut and this will go away. Don't say anything. Because she had done some interviews and stuff, I think, right after. So I think like they were like, just shut up and this will, I hope that this goes away. The more you talk about it, the more likely you're going to get in trouble for this. So, and I think that she just wanted to get off the plane for some reason and orchestrated like a meltdown. But I'm baffled by the thought process behind that. So it's like that's even hard for me to fathom. Where it's like, I don't know. If I was, I would love to know what the reason why she had to get off the plane for real was, because like I can't imagine any situation that would cause me to fake meltdown like that. It would have to be someone dying or something. Like, even then, you'd be like, "Look, someone's dying. I have to get off the plane."
Right.
So it's very, very weird. Yeah. Or it could have been. She could have. You know. I mean, it's strange to me because I've never had a problem flying or anything. But I fly. I talk to some people. They're like beside themselves, and it's like, wow, you know, I can't understand your anxiety over this. So it's entirely possible she could be one of those people who cannot deal with flying at all and was like, all right, I'm having a nervous breakdown. I need to get off the plane. But I don't think she actually had like a paranormal experience or saw a shapeshifter or something. You know, I mean, I'm very interested again to wonder what would inspire that sort of
the person's not real.
The only thing I could say in defense of the story, once again, I'm going to say the story of it, is actually the sincerity of that first video of her.
Yeah.
You could see that she's being very sincere and honest. You bring up a good point. Could she have just been bullcrapping a bunch of people just to get off a flight for whatever reason she wanted to? Sure.
Yeah.
But in that first video, I believe that she's being very sincere. And I'm not saying that there was a shapeshifter or not a shapeshifter. I'm just talking about the sincerity to the story that's been presented to us, that maybe there was something that did happen, or maybe she took an edible.
Maybe.
But
I don't know. I just noticed
that. It could have been a
that
combination of all these factors. She could have had like an anxiety attack and it like unlocked some kind of sixth sense or whatever. I mean, who knows? But it's
you never know, man. You never know.
I remember, like I said, I think I remember her giving interviews afterwards and kind of trying to blow it off. But I mean, that's probably what you would do if you were her, right? If I was her, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I was messing with you all. Ha ha! I didn't have a nervous breakdown. What are you talking about?"
It's like, it's like getting drunk the day before and you were so embarrassed by your actions. You're like, oh, I don't want to talk to anybody, man.
Right. Exactly. It might have been that kind of situation. That might have been when her lawyer was like, yeah, just stop telling everybody that you did this as a big joke and you'll be fine. But if you keep saying that this was all a big joke, F you, then they're going to press charges. So just shut up. And so she's probably like, all right, I stepped in it twice now, so I better just stop talking about it.
Just shut up. All right, so this brings us to our next story. It's been recent in the news. Miami.
Yeah.
This small thing. Now, let me just say this real quick. Do we have a video on that at all, Steve?
I got a little news thing on it.
All right, let's see that real quick.
But I remember the other day when this happened, 2024 is just kicking off, and I texted Neal. I said, "It's starting, Neal. It's begun.
The apocalypse."
This is how it was received on the news.
We have something to discuss here about an alien, potentially. Miami police clearing up some conspiracy theories about a recent invasion. On New Year's Day, a large police presence was caught on video surrounding a mall in Miami. Perhaps you saw this, a video posted online claiming it was due to an alien sighting in that area. So what really happened?
Look at that police presence. That's for a fight. Come on.
Police say a group of 50 teenagers started a fight after setting off fireworks, looting. The alien, in air quotes, in the video was really just a tall person walking.
It was not. Who said?
All right, so we have this story that went out. Now, in defense of them saying that it's an alien, the only thing I can say is, well, actually, a couple things is, whenever there's some kind of riot in a mall or anything like that, all these kids pull out all these phones.
Right.
Everybody, and there has to be CCTV cameras inside the place as well. I know that as a fact.
But those were taken by the government, the CCTV. Right. The phone is that's the killer of the story to me. Yeah, it's like,
right.
So where does anyone have a single picture of this thing? If there was at a mall, right?
Mm-hmm. But why isn't there a single picture of like a brawl either?
Yeah, there's no pictures of a riot or these kids going off in the mall. Every time when I go on like Twitter, whatever these TikTok things are, I go on there and these kids are recording each other, whooping each other's asses.
Yeah.
So if kids are fighting inside malls, everybody loves to throw that on these TikToks and other outlets as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I haven't seen it. And then here's the other thing is all these police cars, I haven't seen that much of a police presence in a very long time on any kind of network.
And we live in Chicago.
And if you're going there just because some kids are riding over in a mall, why didn't we have a big presence like that in any other places that we've had in the past couple of years?
Right. You're going to hate me because I'm probably super cynical and skeptical, but my understanding was or the thought process that I had heard was that it wasn't necessarily a riot, but it was fire. They were shooting off fireworks or something with fireworks went off. Yes. And that prompted concerns that it was a shooter. And I think that they went, they were like, there's a shooter at the mall, and everybody went over there immediately because they thought it was an active shooter. That was the impression I was under, that's what they thought it was. Mm-hmm. And it came about from teenagers causing a ruckus or doing something involving fireworks or something like that. That's I'll be perfectly honest. I haven't followed the story super closely because it's so absurd that I just kind of dismissed it out of hand. It's not, they didn't. If an alien was walking around on the sidewalk, we'd know it, dude. It's just, I'm sorry. It's like they can't cover it up that well. Like you said, beyond they didn't film the kids fighting, no one filmed the alien. That doesn't make any sense.
It's just a fun story.
Oh, it's a wicked fun story. No, it's wicked goofy. It's interesting. I talked about this recently. We talked about the year in review on Binnall of America. You notice, remember, it reminds me a lot of the aliens landed in the Vegas backyard story from July. And it's like, no matter how serious the powers that be try to talk about this subject, the subject still finds a way to present itself in these absurd ways, by a lot of ways through people, like people's reaction to this. So it's what really excites people isn't necessarily the congressional hearing. It's like aliens landed in this backyard in Vegas. So it's the people are still tantalized by the super bizarre aspect of this. So when the whole idea of like aliens were at this mall and all the cops swarmed there, I think people just got really excited about the story because it was so
sensational,
bizarre and fantastic that people wanted to believe in a way. And I also think it's a real testament or statement or observation about now again, I don't really hang out on TikTok, but it seemed to spread like wildfire through TikTok, and that's where a lot of this subpar material comes from, I think. And people, it spread a lot, and I think I'm worried in a way if I was, you say it starts, Steve, but part of me thinks in a way it's like, because after that, then there was all these things like AI, fake pictures and stuff that kind of came out purportedly involved with this whole thing. And it's like, if this is a harbinger of what's to come in 2024 beyond, I'm like, I'm not.
Oh, it's just the start of it. Yeah.
A lot of fake stuff mixed in with people like who believe it or who or just spreading the word about this thing. Check out this thing that is going on. I'm not saying if it's true or not, but it
and
just seems
everybody
like fakery is. I'm concerned that like hooliganism is going to be more rampant this year, but we'll see.
Oh, that's definitely going to happen once that November starts happening.
And the thing is, people want a distraction right now because things are dark, and an alien is at the mall. I mean, that's like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
But probably more than likely, this is my theory. They've been hearing, be careful of terrorist attacks beginning of the year.
Was right.
And the police probably overreacted, to the situation. And, let's make fun. let's create some wild story.
Yeah, people have already been making videos of it, from the CCTV cameras that they have been able to get to, where they're putting in, how like in some of these AI things, where how Steve, how we're able to do like Doctor Strange's circle and stuff like that when we do some of our advertisement things.
Yeah.
So they're putting that, and they're like, oh, all of a sudden this portal opened up, and all of a sudden this came out, right? But the only thing I have to say in defense of it, and I try to be very open-minded. It doesn't mean I believe or disbelieve, but I always try to be open-minded is because in this day and age, there is no real videos out there. So I that's the only thing I'm saying about it is, and all these kids have all these phones, all these devices.
There's no videos. You would think that there would be a video from like as the fight happened, and then the cops are coming and everything. So I totally see. Yeah, it's very hard to sort of get an understanding of what exactly happened there, but it's
once we hit the AI singularity, the AI is going to mess with us because it's going to be too easy not to. Right, it's going to be like counterfeiting all this kind of stuff for us to.
Oh yeah.
Get distracted about.
People spread this stuff like crazy because it gets them TikTok views, and that's what they're looking for. So it's very frustrating. I rely on videos a lot for Coast to Coast because people really love videos, but I won't even really touch a lot of the TikTok stuff because it's almost always fake or a video that I saw that I used at Coast to Coast like 5 years ago. It drives me nuts. Where it's like, oh man, you just took a video from 5 years ago, and you're like, oh, check out this amazing Bigfoot video I found, and it's like, oh man, you're just slowing my day down, dude. I dig into the story a little bit. I'm like, oh wait a minute, that was the one from Temecula in 2013 that I wrote about. Get out of here with that. I can't write about the Temecula Bigfoot. I already did that. So. But yeah, a lot of fake stuff floating around these days. It's very,
definitely
very frustrating. And I mean, part of the thing too, it's worth noting is that I didn't think this was going to catch fire like it did because I had heard about it on Friday or I think Saturday was when I heard about it, and it was just in the UFO circles, and I'm like, oh, these goofballs, they they'll get on anything these days because they're so excited about aliens and UFOs right now. And then I kind of woke up like yesterday and was like, oh no, this thing turned like we didn't even really cover it at the Coast Site because I was just like, this is so silly. I don't even. Then I was like, oh no, everybody. I turned out.
Everybody was talking about because I woke up that morning, the morning after, and I went to the gym, and a lot of the guys, they're all talking about it. And I'm like, because my wife sent me a thing going, hey, guess what happened in Miami? She always sends me these things.
Yeah.
And she goes, guess what happened in Miami? So I'm looking at this thing. And then all of a sudden, a guy came up to me because he knows what I do. He goes, man, did you hear about that thing in Miami? I go, yeah, I just got the text. And so like 4 or 5 people start coming in and everybody else is going, oh my God, and it starts to freak out the world, almost like, the War of the Worlds kind of.
Right. Well, there's also an element to this that, can't necessarily discount, and it is conspiratorial in a way, but it's like why did this story, where did it come from? And we don't even know who first started the story. And it's
exactly
right.
So maybe they want this they want everyone talking about this story. They want to plant the seed, God forbid, for like an alien invasion or something like that. They want to plant the seed that the aliens could be here. Or they want us thinking about the aliens. They want us to think about this possibility or this scenario or something. Maybe, I don't know. That's
there's another possibility. I think over the last few years, everybody's been pretty traumatized about just stuff, and I think maybe in a way our society's become addicted to it. Like we want to be like psychologically traumatized. It's like an addiction. And so we're just looking for the next big thing that everyone can just look at. Aliens, I mean, that's where we're at. We're at the point where like, we could go into the dark abyss like we were talking about earlier, or we could just find something fun to talk about. And
right, exactly. Yeah.
Like we were talking about the guy from Roswell, Schmidt, we had him on. What's his first? Don Schmidt.
Don Schmidt. Yeah.
I had Don Schmidt on, and we were talking, and he's a friend of mine, and we were talking about Roswell, and I was also bringing up the subject about like false flags and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to go down a rabbit hole with you or anything like that, but aliens is such a big topic again, huge. I've always said to Steve, I go, what happens if one day they decide to do like a false flag event to put everybody scared enough where all of a sudden they want to make people believe in, things are happening, then they want to embrace their government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've talked about subjects like that. Don Schmidt, by the way, great guy to have on.
Oh, Don Schmidt's fantastic. We had him on Binnall of America. Yeah, he's
an awesome dude. He's a great, exactly, and he's such a great speaker, by the way. Mm-hmm. So this is going to take us into the third thing that we're going to talk about. You just put up today 30-foot triangle in the sky by video, a regular pilot of what kind of airline was it?
American or
was it American airline?
No, it was a private plane. I think it was a Cessna, but I'm not positive.
Okay. He reported a 30-foot tall triangular object flying past the aircraft, and he was talking to the tower, telling him what he was seeing and this and that. What area was that in?
He was flying from Pittsburgh to I want to say Fredericton, I think, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
So pretty short flight, and he was like 50 miles, I guess, before the airport he was headed towards in Maryland. So yeah, that was so. I couldn't, quite frankly, I didn't have the time wherewithal to figure out where if 50 miles, but if he was over Maryland or Pennsylvania, I was like, this is a really small distance, so I don't even know where exactly which state he was over. But he was flying from Pittsburgh to Maryland, and then he said off in the distance he saw this thing pass by the plane. So 30 foot tall. That thing, people said weather balloon, but it's like 30 feet. I don't think is a weather balloon 30 feet tall? That sounds a little insanely tall for a weather.
It's not triangular.
My first guess is installations is the Stealth, because it's 19 feet. No, it's actually wing to wing. It's over 40 feet, and I think it's the 19 feet nose to butt. I think that's 19 feet that way. So I looked into that. Maybe it's a possibility that in the distance, maybe that's what he saw. I don't know. But I thought I'd bring up the subject of the thing that you brought up today. I thought it was an interesting read. It kind of goes into what we're talking about. This really all ravels up kind of like into aliens, I guess, today. And we also have
what it says about what that story really says, what the real story of that story is, because you guys are kind of old timers like me, I think, is that you wouldn't hear that 5 or 10 years ago, certainly not like 20 years ago. So just thanks to the technology and also this newfound permissive attitude about UFOs, now you can hear this pilot reporting a UFO. We've done probably, I want to say 4 or 5 similar stories. I have done 4 or 5 similar stories at Coast to Coast over the last 8 years since I've been on the beat. With the same thing, like here's a radio transmission of a pilot reporting this crazy UFO to the air traffic controllers, and you would never, one of those 10 years ago would have been the biggest story in the UFO community for the year. And now it's just kind of like, oh, here's another interesting angle on this UFO thing. So it really is a great example of how attitudes have changed over the years, especially in recent years, that this information is more easily shared by whoever. I guess the people who caught it were monitoring I guess you could monitor it. I didn't know you could do that, but and somehow they captured it and then put it out, and all that is just really interesting to me, where before it wouldn't have access to the information, and it wouldn't get very far. Anyway.
Right. It's very socially acceptable nowadays. It's, everybody wants to hear about it. Everybody wants to know about it. It's in all the movies, all the TV shows. So that's actually and I don't mean to get off on the thing. I think that it's something that's been programmed in us from watching all the movies and TV shows back, even in the 80s, when you see things like Visitors and stuff like that, or V.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you remember V.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching that with all the reptile people and stuff like that. Very, very interesting show back in the day. It scared the crap out of me. Don't get me wrong.
Didn't they remake that recently?
Yeah, they did for a second. They did.
Yeah, for a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, I had high hopes for it because I love the original one. But
the original was cool.
So did you hear that they're going to do a new Battlestar Galactica?
No way.
Yes.
Another one?
Yes.
Wow.
I just read it today that they're supposed to do a new. I'm such a dork, Tim.
No, I didn't know that.
You didn't know?
No, I love Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, I used to love it back in the day as well. I did not like the second one.
No, that's the one I liked.
Did you?
The second one. Yeah, I did. And they had this show called Caprica. It was a spinoff, and it got into AI, and it was like how the AI intelligence for these robots got created, and it's kind of cool. I was getting into it, and then it got canceled, like everything I enjoy.
Yeah,
all the shows I like. Once I get on it, they cancel it.
Yeah. So all right, don't mean to get totally off base. I mean, but I had thrown out there.
All right, yeah.
So the other thing is, Steve wants to show you this in this Malaysia Airlines story that happened in August of last year.
Yeah.
Well, something really weird about this.
The airline disappeared in 2014, right?
2014, I'm sorry.
Right.
This is the video that got leaked out?
Yeah, that leaked video. For those, I'm going to play a little video. There's no audio to it. I'm going to try to talk through it. I won't play the whole thing, but there's a video circulating about satellite imagery of what had happened during this disappearance of Malaysian Airlines 370. So I'm going to throw this up here real quick. And this is the video. It's like there's 2 separate videos. One is taken from a pair of satellite imagery, and the other is, I guess there's some sort of
drone,
UPA drone or something. But what happens in these videos is that there's at first a spherical object circulating, and then 2, and then 3 objects circulating the plane, and then eventually the plane just vanishes. The weird part of this is that I know there were 227 people on the plane, plus 12 crew, but 3 of the people who were on this plane were they were pretty big researchers in semiconductor technology. and they disappeared like that. Not sure what that was. Not sure how two sets of technology picked up these anomalies and how it just disappeared. It's odd.
It's weird, but I'm going to call shenanigans because to me it's like we need to know the provenance. Like that picture I got from you guys that I had at the Coast to Coast website. I know where it came from. You guys, someone on your tour produced. If it was just floating around somewhere, it's like, okay, what are the circumstances? What captured these videos? How did they wind up on the internet? These are the two questions that trouble me here. The third, if I was going to be a real dick, the third one is, okay, so the aliens or whatever came and took the plane away. How did the pilot, who is believed to be the one who really caused the whole thing to happen, how did he wind up having the whole schematics of the trip on his flight? If it was a complete happenstance, his flight simulator, I suppose they could have made that up, right? But to me, it's like, all right, I think we kind of know what happened. I think this guy lost his mind or whatever and killed all these people. Based on the whole, weirdly enough, based on the whole flight simulator part and all these little tangential things. And also because they don't want to outright blame him. So it's like, he's like a patsy, but not a patsy. So that to me makes me think, he probably did do it. And they just don't want to come out and say that he did it because for God, maybe just protect his legacy. I don't know. You protect his family or something of the lifetime of shame of being the villain of this story. So but to me, that always seemed to me the most plausible thing. Once I kind of heard that and kind of heard a little bit more, he was depressed and he was kind of an odd character and he was the only one who could have made the maneuver. So it's like, well, you'd have to be a super pilot, I guess they said, to like bank the plane and turn it around. And it was like, well, it turns out he had like 25 years of experience. So he would be the guy you bring in to bank the plane. So the video, again, it goes to show you though, like, this fantastic stuff gets out there online and it just spread like wildfire with people who are like, this is amazing stuff. Because I heard a lot about the MH370. There are people who still are kind of like, they've made that their thing. Like this guy on Twitter that's like he's still analyzing the video. It's like, bro, come on, how much?
Right.
It's like the flat earth people. It's like, all right, I mean, how much flatter can it get?
And you get into spread like wildfire, like you said. There's videos going around about Lahaina, and that there was a satellite that had gone over the exact location, a Chinese satellite. Just like in this instance with the three things going around each other. Supposedly that was a composite. One of them was a composite satellite image from two satellites. That were able to kind of bring it together. There's like records of the satellites being in that position where the plane was supposed to be. But again, how can I validate that? I don't know. I mean, this stuff gets out on the internet.
Like the video could be real.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but it's like you got to err on the side of caution and common sense in a way where it's.
And it's like this.
Here's my one question is that in this day and age, every video and like. People send me pictures all the time. Email me, Neal, hey, can you come investigate this place? Can you go investigate that place? I'm showing you videos and this and that. Anybody at home nowadays can make anything. But my one question to this is why me personally, I don't believe it's real is because of a drone. Why did they know to have that drone there? I don't understand it. I try to find out.
One of them is a drone video and one's a satellite or something.
Yeah, how did you know to be? I don't get it. I don't understand that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's where it gets into like I was saying earlier. You get a odd thing that happens. This case, maybe these were aliens. You get that paranormal aspect, and then you bring in the conspiracy. The three people on board were they researching something on semiconductor technology. It goes down a rabbit hole. And I think we're, as a society, just addicted to sensationalism. Absolutely. And we don't ask questions about how did this information get out. It just gets out. And it's like being at the ball game, right? And everyone's, instead of cheering, maybe they're just talking about it or getting excited about it. It's contagious.
Yeah, exactly. Sure,
you're absolutely right. It does get contagious. Yep.
Right.
Viral. That's how it works. So, but yeah, no, I thought it was an interesting video. It was a funny story. I guess it was cool. I was kind of like, it's the story. The MH370 story is already fantastic enough. We don't need to throw aliens into it. It's like it's the modern day Amelia Earhart. I don't want to say I love it, but I like it in a way because as an old timer, it's depressing because the old stories are getting older and we don't have many more of these modern mysteries. It's like D.B. Cooper's like 50-something years old. Amelia Earhart's like 70-something years old. It's like, what are the new mysteries now?
Me and Steve were recently at, speaking of like Amelia, we were at Amelia Earhart's museum.
Years ago. How is it?
Oh, it's really, really cool. And they get into the whole
really want to check it out.
Oh yeah, they get into the conspiracy thing. And you want to know what's weird about it is right around the block is the Sally House.
Yeah. You know what the Sally House is, Tim?
No, what is the Sally House?
Oh my God. This was you remember the old show called Sightings back in the day, dude?
Yeah.
All right. So this has always been on my bucket list of this house. It's a story of a young girl who's a ghost. And she scratches always men inside the house. The story goes is that a long time ago, late 1800s, late 1800s. Yeah. A doctor lived inside the house and a young girl lived behind the house, and the mother brought her over because she was in a lot of pain. And he saw that it was appendicitis and he needed to remove her appendix. And he gave her some, he didn't have anything to put her out. And he had to do it while she was awake, and she died on the table.
Yeah.
Supposedly the spirit of this girl still inhabits this house.
Wow.
And this place here, we've actually got a lot of very good evidence from it. So like myself, I'm an empath, right? So I already hear voices, I already get impressions, blah, blah, blah. There's two very strong entities inside this house.
Nice.
And what we do is we film everything that we do. We go everywhere. We film everything. We compile all the evidence that we can.
Yeah.
And this place here is a to me, very legit place. But a lot of places that we know when we recognize when it tries to portray itself as a certain, let's say it's trying to say it's a girl, this entity. And the minute that you call out these things for what they are, that's when they stop playing. They don't want to play no more.
For example, Neal, you said it's not a little girl, it's a demon.
No, I didn't say it was a demon. I didn't say it was a demon. I won't use that word. I didn't say, I said it is not, it's a manipulative spirit.
That's the word used.
That's a manipulative spirit.
Masquerading as this woman trying to get you to let your guard down or something. Yeah.
And so the minute that we do it, and I make this mistake more than once, where I do that, and then I'll stop playing, and then the whole day gets ruined. You know?
It's like, come on, Neal.
But that's the reason why I brought that up, is because the Amelia Earhart thing,
right? But it's about having your own experience, right? So, like, you can get the sensational TikTok or whatever's viral, whatever is out there in the news. You don't know for sure. Like, you have to have your own experience, like the fart, for example, right? Like, a part of you knows that was too much to be a coincidence, right? When the fart story you told us earlier, right?
Yeah,
that was your paranormal experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like things like that you can tell everybody about, or maybe nobody. The one person you tell or two people you tell, they might like say, "Hey, it was a coincidence," right? And it might take away from your experience if you go down that path. But it's just, I think the truth about these things, it's personal. It can't really be shared, because once it's shared, it becomes sensationalized, or it becomes like a sporting event. It becomes not your own. Like everybody who has a paranormal experience, deep down they kind of have a knowing that this is otherworldly.
Yeah,
yes.
Right, and only you can answer that for yourself, right?
Exactly.
But all this other stuff, I think there's just a lot of noise, and I think a lot of people want to sensationalize. And once it starts going, it's a game of telephone.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, I imagine your listeners probably like, boy, this guy's really skeptical. He writes for Coast to Coast. But oddly enough, I didn't cover any of the stories to talk about the lady on the plane, the Miami aliens, the MH370, because all three of them, I was like, that's too sensational and it's too, like, I don't want to lead people down the wrong direction. I guess. No. Yeah, I always want to stick to like what I can really bring to the table with folks.
I agree with you. I agree with you. If you don't believe something, don't be part of the room that does believe. That's my thing. Is there always has to be someone who does disagree, or you're going to make everything so perfect.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And we don't need that. I like we have another guy.
I guess when things go so far into the part where I'm like, all right, I can't believe that. You know what I mean? Like I cannot even believe that.
Crazy.
For one moment, it's like, all right, now I'm not even going to dignify that with.
Tim, is there a story that you heard from somebody that you just believe? Like, it may not be sensational, right? But it's out there. It's like questionable, but you believe it.
You bet I do. Okay. I got a great story. It's going to knock your socks off. So,
please.
I have a friend, Adam Davies. He's a cryptozoologist. He started out as a cryptozoologist. He was like a office worker in the UK, and I met him right when he first kind of became a personality in this field. He just written a book about his adventures. He would go to Sumatra a lot, looking for the orang pendek, which is a diminutive version of Bigfoot. He was very serious-minded. Still is, of course, but back then he was like super scientific about it and everything else. Comes to America because he had kind of gone all over the world looking for different cryptids. Comes to America, and with another guy, friend of his, meets up with this third person who is a Bigfoot researcher who asserts that this area in the Pacific Northwest is like a Bigfoot hotspot, and they're going to go on a Bigfoot hunt. Now, bear in mind, I've known Adam. Up until then, I had known Adam for like 6, 7, 8 years. I had talked to him probably once a year for the show. I had really kind of gotten to know him. He was mild mannered, right? He was kind of like, this isn't anyone who this story takes a wild turn. So gets in touch with me. He's like, I got to come on your show soon and tell you what happened to me up in the Pacific Northwest. So I'm like, all right, man. So I got him and John, his friend, on the show, and they're out there in the woods, and it's nighttime, and all of a sudden they look out into the woods, and I cannot even do this story justice. People will have to find it at the Binnall of America. So they look out in the woods, and all of a sudden they see this portal open, like slowly, like this ball of light, and then it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and so it becomes a portal. And these little, on the show, I jokingly call them Ewoks, like these little furry, actually I think he likened them to like this an old cartoon where like the bad guys were like these electrical staticky kind of thing. I don't know if you guys remember that cartoon.
I think I have an idea what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, there was like a cartoon that the character was like just all staticky. It's like these little staticky kind of things start coming out of the portal towards them, and they're absolutely terrified by what they're seeing. And so they flash the flashlight at them, and it causes them to like shrink back in, and the portal closes. And then a little bit later on, the same thing happens again. And this process kept repeating itself all night until the sun came up and it stopped, and they were exhausted. And then it happened again the next night. So I think I don't recall why you didn't take any pictures of this or whatever. I'm sure it came up in the conversation I had with him, but it was like that conversation now is like 10 years ago. But it's the most talked about show ever on Binnall of America. It's been cited in books, the story. I believe it with all my heart that this happened to him, because I know Adam. Again, it's like, where's the provenance of this story? It's a guy I've known for however many long years before this happened. I talked to him recently. We had him back on Binnall of America. I'm like, look, we got to talk about the portals. He doesn't want to talk about it. He's like, it was traumatic. It was frightening. It was like really messed me up. It messed John up. We just kind of wanted to come on the show and tell the story because the third person they were with, he went off and started telling the story like on his thing. And he had all kinds of weird interpretations. It didn't happen to him. He was sleeping. And they were just next to the thing and seeing this at the camp. So he didn't experience this. These two guys did. And so they wanted to get on my show and sort of just tell the story as it happened. And then Adam he didn't go on the circuit. He didn't write a book he wrote a fictional book, I think, about the thing. And, with all due respect to Adam, I love it. It didn't make the New York Times bestseller list. It was like a personal pet project of his to exercise this thing in a fictional way, but he didn't become the portal guy. I mean, if anything, I felt terrible when I interviewed him recently because I'm like, you're the portal guy. And it's after he kind of unburdened himself, I was like, he doesn't want to he doesn't want to be the portal guy. Excuse me. He doesn't want to be the portal guy. He's like, so that to me also adds credibility to the thing where it wasn't like, okay, Adam's coming on the show to roll out this story and, looking back on it, it turns out that's the thing that made Adam into a big star. It's like, no, Adam's just Adam, and it just happened to him. So it's like he never, he certainly didn't. The only person that ever benefited from the portal was probably me because so many people talked about it, and I had no idea he was going to come on and talk about it. But that's probably easily. You talk about the Art Bell show. That's like my Art Bell guy flying over Area 51 moment. That was kind of we finished the show and I was like, what did I just hear? And I've hung out with Adam in person. So I have no doubt that whatever this was happened to him. So and I have no idea what to make of it, except
once again, sincerity. So he was being very sincere. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, Tim, I you know what? I appreciate you coming on tonight. I really do, man.
My pleasure, guys.
Yeah. I hope someday we can do this again. This is Mr. Tim Binnall with Binnall of America and Coast to Coast AM. Tim, you got anything going on that you would like to broadcast?
Just all obviously news at Coast to Coast AM Monday through Friday. So be sure to check that out, coasttocoastam.com and at binnallofamerica.com. Really just punch in Binnall of America in your podcast, whatever it is that you get, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, every Wednesday, all new episodes. We got Matt Hopewell, AP Prodigious coming on tomorrow, this coming Wednesday, and then Michael Hughes, and we're getting into a lot of fun stuff as we start the year. I've got some real bangers, either already taped or coming up, and it's kind of like I was saying to somebody the other day. I had been podcasting for 18 years, and so the interview part wasn't really a problem, but it was like I was rusty on booking people, and sort of like, it's always kind of weird to book people, and then all of a sudden, like in December, it just I just felt like I hit my stride, and it was like I booked like 4 or 5 people all in a day, and I'm like, all right, I'm back. Let's really see let's see how far this baby can go. Let's really turn the gas on Binnall of America. So it's going to be a really fun year and lots of fun stuff at BOA in 2024.
Well, you got definitely 2 new subscribers right here, sir.
Absolutely.
So awesome. Really appreciate it.
All right, that's Mr. Tim Binnall. What's that, buddy?
And I said I appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate having you.
Yeah. All right. Once again, that's Steve. Steve, you got anything to say before we go out?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And as always, boys and girls, boo.